Okay, Deaf Ears 1 is Knocked Loose. The new album is called You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to.
The pandemic had a lasting effect on people, faced with watching death counts rise, fear, isolation, and not even being able to have a beer at the bar, amplified things in our humanness.
Sounds terrible.
If you had darkness, it seemed to make it darker. And if you had a little bit of crazy, it made the crazy seep out unchecked.
Oh, yeah, it did.
One thing that came out as a benefit was the music born of this time. Those who coped by keeping busy channeling the murkiness into art. Brian Garris, the lead singer of Knocked Loose, was on a plane, seated by a stranger who picked up on his nervousness about flying and tried to comfort him by saying, "You won't go before you are supposed to." Which is kind of weird. I mean, it's meant to be comforting, but when you pick it apart, if the plane crashes, was everybody's number up at once then? It's kind of like this blind faith, fear forcing the unstable to cling to any old wives' tale and false religious promises. Like, if you just ask forgiveness, you can go to heaven.
Incidentally, the way that Stace and I handle the airlines when we travel together, here's a little tip for you guys. I tell them that she has anxiety when we're not seated together. And the way I phrase it is I say, all of the other passengers will be grateful if you put us together. You have to phrase it that way. You have to put them in focus. And then they go, oh my, let me make a call. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Anyway, back
Another free tip.
This plane story. The way the pandemic made us stare into our own mortality and, by an odd perfect storm, gave him the title for the third full length for this 5-piece out of Kentucky. Knocked Loose has hit their stride here, metalcore done in their signature style in these 10 tracks, most in the 2 to 3 minute range. Here's what you won't get here. No rising melodic guitar solos, no guitar harmonies, very, very little clean singing, and no lack of piss and vinegar.
For the opening seconds of Thirst, I was busy trying to figure out all the chimes, clonks, clunks, and squeaks were. I was listening very closely, and then I ended up having a complete jump scare when Garris jumps from behind the curtain with a screaming wail over blistering popping drums and discordant riffs of Isaac Hale and Nick Calderon. Garris's vocals are the classic punk staccato bark, like Solomon from Night Fever. There are neat breakouts throughout, like when the drums of Paxson, aka Kevin Kane, full stops for a second before shifting into a tempo roll, taking center for the close.
Suffocate features a collaboration with Poppy, who, I am convinced, is making it her goal to stick her quill pen into every musical genre.
She's popping up everywhere.
She seems to have joined the dark side hat now, sporting Morticia Adams' black locks and getting her yells in with Garris and the gang, sometimes all barking in at once. But when all drops but Sun's drum over her brief, clean vocal part, it builds until all join in the anguished scream that can only come from being in the type of toxic relationship the lyrics describe. A second collaboration in Slaughterhouse 2 has Chris motionless, layers in his vocals into the fray and fury, all coming together at times with eye-popping violence. The bass notes of Kevin Otten add bounce and depth, with the guitar riffs at their most nearly melodic before returning to minor chord crunch. My favorite track is Don't Reach For Me. Plodding drums, zinging riffs, and outrage so palpable you can taste the bitterness when Garris remonstrates the chorus. Don't reach for me. I can't do it like he does. There are moments that all drop away, but the vocals and drums both build against each other. More minor chords trade back and forth that sound like they are played at the bottom of an empty in-ground pool.
Trials and madness can lead to art, and this is a prime example of channeling all those bad feelings into something powerful and cathartic. This is a band who knows who they are, and they do it well. May your darkness continue to shine a light of rage so we can all have something real to hold on to, something much more passion-filled, rendering and less empty quips and old wives' tales. This is a purge through pure noise and raw emotion. The song is Suffocate.
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.